Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. 4.955. That is where we are sitting at the 10-year Treasury yields. Remember, yesterday we were like at 4.8, and I said, well, it seems like 5% is maybe inevitable now, but I'm not sure if they can quite do it this week. Well, we're not there yet, but it's only 30, 40 ticks, and in a market that has been moving 50, 100 ticks a day, it is definitely within the realm of possibilities. And this rise in yields is starting to weigh on the markets. Let's come in and look at the charts. So here you can see the Treasury. That was a pretty, this move down. I tell you what, especially this second leg. Whew. So like we kind of came up here and like everything was hunky-dory, and then around 8 o'clock, like things really started, 8:30, things really started going lower, right? Then we got another push even lower to well into new lows. There was a little bit of a recovery because of some Fed speakers and the auction and all of that, but yesterday was just a brutal day for treasuries. I know that we've had so many other brutal days that one doesn't look like much, but the flow on that was so aggressively sell. Very, very scary order flow. You didn't want to stand in front of that one. And now in the overnight session, even more. And you got to wonder like what the reprieve is going to be. And like, where is this volume coming from? Because it is just absolutely insane. I've never seen anything even close to this. Like there have been larger increases in the yields that did not have this kind of flow with it. So as I was saying, this did weigh on stocks yesterday, although they seem to be okay overnight. And I mean, they did try and pull it out, but once those yields started pushing higher, the S&P 500 started to falter. Should also note that some of the key parts of the market are like getting hammered. So the index doesn't necessarily always tell the full story, right? Banks got hit pretty hard yesterday. The chip sector, which was a leading sector before, got hammered pretty bad. And also these GLP names, that this is the new weight loss drug, also kind of languishing. So like leading parts of the market are now falling. That is kind of signs that we are moving into a more extended pullback in the S&P 500. In fact, if we come back over to here, you know, I think that it's very likely that we come back to this 200-day moving average. Oil kind of falling a little bit overnight. I'm not familiar with any news that was going on, but there is still Middle East tension out there. Gold and silver continue to look pretty good, and copper gave up some of its gains yesterday and trying again this morning. The situation in China is looking a little bit better. When we come over here to the dollar, really strong yesterday. And remember, one of the key flows that we're starting to see now is that when the dollar rises, foreign holders end up selling their bonds and their stocks. They're going to sell their bonds first, but then they get into their stocks because they don't want, they just need to be back into the dollars. Otherwise, maybe we can sort that one out now, because that one's not second nature to me, but they don't like it. We'll put it that way. Okay. And Bitcoin is trying really hard, but like, here's the thing. It's not actually being driven by anything, right? This market is basically a dead market that is almost completely manipulated now. Nobody actually uses it for anything. The supply and demand in Bitcoin is completely artificial. And so while they haven't had the money to come in to really pump it, they're not going to let it drop, are they? So, Bitcoin. I remember when it was like such a big deal, and now like just nobody cares. And I guess that would be a good time to buy, but I just don't want to be involved in that one anymore. Now, as for me, so does that mean that I come in and I just go long interest rates in anticipation of things eventually hitting 5%? Well, no, because I have colonoscopy today, and I'm probably going to be like a lot less disciplined than I usually am. So we're just gonna sit here and try and have fun and not think about how hungry I am too much, and watch what's happening. We are seeing a little bit of some buying flow come through here, although the liquidity being pretty what's the opposite of viscous? Liquidity being pretty thin through here. They're moving up without very much resistance. Okay, so first thing, Israel situation. Yesterday, I think that pretty much everybody reasonable has realized that the whole hospital storyline was a complete fabrication, wartime propaganda. It wasn't a Hamas, but it was another militant Islamist group in Gaza that was firing. That's kind of associated with Gaza, but it wasn't our Hamas, but it wasn't actually Hamas. That's something you might want to note if you're reading those stories and you're wondering like, why aren't they mentioning Hamas? Anyways, was a militant missile that dropped. It did it in the parking lot. Didn't really damage the hospital. The reports of like it killed 1,000 people, and this is just absolutely crazy. It didn't. That whole thing played out. Nobody apologized. Like, people canceled meetings with Joe Biden over it and all of this sort of a thing. But nobody's apologizing today for like, oh yeah, actually that was completely false. Well, okay. One storyline I did see, this was, if you want to read a really interesting thread that is like, where is the Democrat Party right now? Go to r/politics, and there's a story, 4.3K upvotes. Taleb refuses to apologize for blaming Israel for Gaza hospital blast and attacks Biden. You go and read the comments on that. And a lot of Democrats are very alarmed by what they're seeing. They're very alarmed by the people outright supporting Hamas, and they're kind of, I think that you might see a big shift in the country overall on the issue of like immigration and multiculturalism and so forth. This seems to be one of those events. It's like really, really moving people, and all of a sudden this is like a big deal. So that's kind of what's going on over there. And the word is that an invasion is imminent, but it still hasn't happened. There was stories in Israel that they were concerned that Hezbollah would get involved, and they didn't want to do that until they were sure what was going on over there. Some people have speculated that they're waiting for a new Speaker of the House to be selected, but Jim Jordan had 2 votes yesterday. He failed both of them. His support is actually getting worse through those votes, so I don't think that we're going to have a new Speaker of the House anytime soon. And in fact, the situation where a centrist Republican steps up and some of the Democrats switch over and vote for him is, I think, increasingly likely. Okay, so it is Thursday. That means that we get initial jobless claims estimate is 210. Previous reading is 209. I also get some Canadian PPI numbers. I don't know if those are a big deal. Later in the day, we're going to get existing home sales and some Fed speakers. So, okay, a little move down. Okay, 198. Oh, no, that's interesting. So 198 less than the 210. So, well, that's bad. You see, I'm sitting there like, wait, why did they move down? And then I read the number again and I'm like, oh, yes, of course, because lower is better. Less jobless claims is better for the economy. That's why they sold higher rates. Durr. That's how off I am going to be today, man. A Republican majority House has trouble electing a Republican speaker? Well, I mean, this is the thing that we've been trying to tell people, right? I guess it didn't do a good job, never really focused on it, but like, it's a Republican majority House, but not really, okay? The majority that they have is paper thin. You typically, you think of it like in the House, well, you know, the difference between the two, you know, maybe they only have like a 55% majority, but with hundreds of members in the House, like that's a lot, right? And so there's usually, you know, a 50, 60, 70 member majority, which means that, you know, most votes just go your way anyways, right? But in the current House, they're only like, it's only like a difference of 20 votes. Okay. So 20 Republicans hold out, then you can't do anything. And you got to also keep in mind that rhinos are a thing. Okay. There are dinos too. Okay. But there are a lot more rhinos than there are dinos. I know that some people don't like that kind of terminology. They think, oh, it's not a real thing. Other people think that it gets applied to too many people. But there are places, okay? There are places where one party has such a stranglehold on the local politics. Any reasonable person that wants to get elected has to be a part of that party. And so they will run and gain office within that party, even though they do not actually believe any of the main tenets of that party at all. And so there are some quote unquote moderate Republicans that frankly might as well be Democrats. It is just the way it is. And so you don't actually have a majority, okay? You definitely don't have a majority where it's like you can push your very unpopular positions or your highly contested ones, right? You know, in order to get the policy that like the Freedom Caucus wants, you would probably need to have a 60% majority in the Senate. It's just not happening otherwise. And you would need to hold the presidency, right? You don't hold the Senate, you don't hold the presidency. Like, it's a lame duck Congress. We knew it from the very beginning, right? Remember when we were talking like just at the very beginning, and it was or just before the new representatives got put in, and they were talking about the budget, and the way that they did the deal for the budget basically meant that this Congress would never get the opportunity to actually address the budget. That's what we're looking at. Like, the one thing that they could have actually done and the Congress before them threw it away so that they wouldn't be able to do anything. That doesn't mean voting Democrats, but hey, like primaries matter, man. That's really what it is. If you're a Republican, yeah, you've got to get better people. This is the problem in the Republican Party. So like I saw somebody put it this way the other day that like Republicans tend to have a lot of sense, but they're not very educated, and Democrats are very educated, but they have no sense. I think that is very often very much the case. And so you get Republicans that like, so one, on the voter side, Republicans do tend to be more aware of what is going on in politics, more aware of what's going on in the headlines and what people think and things like that. But when it comes down to what are the policy positions of the individual people that are running when they have primaries and things like that, they're like not engaged enough. And so it's actually very easy for a rhino to sneak in, because it just comes down to marketing, right? It's 100, like, it's seriously, it's disgusting how much impact the marketing has on primary campaigns, and whoever has the most money in a primary campaign is usually the winner. So the voters have to pay more attention in the primaries. But then the other issue is the candidates that you actually get. Not many Republicans want to get involved in like going to college for public policy. Okay, like especially when you're talking about things like zoning laws and like running a city, there's not as many Republicans that get involved in that stuff. Usually what happens is you're a successful local businessman, and then you just kind of shift over to that, and you have to learn it on the job. And they're very smart people, but they're not people that have been like studying it all their lives. And so when you have a rhino in office and you need to get rid of them, who are you going to replace them with? Are you going to replace them with a really smart person that understands policy and has been really involved in local government and is ready to take the next step up and move over to a position with more responsibility? No, you get whack jobs. You get highly ideological people that run for the office instead. And then people don't want to vote for them. And this is the Republican problem. If we had made a couple of different decisions on things like certain candidates and stuff like that, probably wouldn't be in this position. Okay, so while I'm ranting here, the treasuries have moved back up, pretty decent move up. You know, it's funny, I kind of had the gut feeling like maybe we would have some reversion today, but I'm still a little bit surprised by it. Highly ideological people in the long run drag the opposition into the moderate version of the party they represent. This has been the left's. I'm okay. So the Overton window thing. The Overton window is a thing. Yes. I don't think that it's because of how ideological your candidates are. I think that is much. Okay, so this kind of maybe is a segue. Maybe it's a little bit of a forced segue, but a segue into something I wanted to talk about today. Hey, Michael, how's it going? So I saw TikTok. It's always about a TikTok, isn't it? Saw a TikTok the other day, but it was from a youth pastor. I don't typically see this sort of stuff on TikTok. I kind of don't like Christian talk. Just, I don't know. The like mainstream Christian culture is like, LDS, so we're a little different. Mainstream Christian culture kind of kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies sometimes. A lot of the things that they do and say, I just are weird. Okay, but it was a youth pastor, or a former youth pastor. As a Republican, talk politics, you sound like every progressive. Well, that's not true, but I come in and I say we should make decisions based on like policy. Like, hey, what is the difference between me and like your average far right Freedom Caucus person? I believe that all of the easy problems have been solved, and that the problems that we have left are very complicated problems that require a deep understanding of system and a deep understanding of policy and a deep understanding of the political machine as well, in order to effectively navigate a correct solution. The average Freedom Caucus member thinks that if we just hold to our values strongly enough, that eventually things will work out for us. And I would hope that after 30 years of this, that, you know, a lot of Republicans would have said, oh, you know what, that actually doesn't work. I think that was a major factor behind Donald Trump's popularity, was they said, you know what, screw this other shit. I want to win, and I think that if I put this guy in there, that he's going to actually do some things and get something done. And you know what, he did. He did. I feel like that in some respects, Donald Trump got more done than George Bush did, and George Bush had a much bigger majority, and it was because he actually played the system, and they actually, you know, had to sit there and problem solve, like the border problem. Okay, like originally they came in, they did just kind of like what came naturally to them, and it was a disaster. And so they had to sit down and like really solve the problem, and they came out with a really, really great solution. It's sad that it kind of got dismantled, but right, that's the difference between me and your more ideological Republicans, because when it comes down to like policy and principles, they're the same. It's just, I think that these people are being idiots by being like hating any kind of intellectual, not wanting to do any kind of deep read into policy, because it inevitably comes out that, you know, when you go into the data, sometimes it doesn't say what you want it to say. And if everything that you're doing is driven ideologically, then you're going to hate the science, right? Anyways, do you think TikTok is a euphemism? I'm not gonna trade it today. Live action. I'm not healthy. I have not eaten in over 24 hours now. So, right. Last time I ate was Monday evening. In fact, I can take one last gulp of water here. It's 6:45, and now I can't have water anymore either. Okay, but back to what I was gonna say. You take your best trades when you're in shit shape? I don't know about that one. No, actually, I completely disagree with that. The biggest, worst trades that I've had were in situations where I was not feeling well, I was sick, or I was in the final parts of my workout cycle where my nervous system was depressed or strained because of lifting so heavy. That's when I take like my worst trades and I do impulsive things, and I take like loser after loser after loser. Anyways, so I was watching this youth pastor, and he was talking about why do kids stop being Christian, essentially, right? the whole thing about you get into college and then they get brainwashed in college and then they're no longer Christian, that sort of a thing. And so they've been doing studies. So of course I like it because they've been doing studies. And so they did studies. And the conclusion of this study, I wouldn't say it's like a straight up scientific study. It's kind of more of a social kind of study sort of thing. But their main conclusion from this was that it was not the schools that were turning kids liberal. That the kids had already been preconditioned before they got to university and high school. And how did that happen? And he says is just like when you're doing math in school and you learn all of this stuff about binomials and polynomials and like how many people out there, because everybody learns this in high school, but how many people out there could actually tell me what those are? Very few people could like really effectively define them. And it's because your brain, you're not using it. Your brain doesn't see its application in life, and it says, "Oh, I don't actually need this. This is pointless." So what happens is they go to church. They only think about or talk about church on Sunday. The church that they go to, because they have the youth ministry and the regular ministry, and they're like completely separate. So the church that they go to is actually completely different from the church that their parents go to. And their parents think that the main thing about them going to church is to learn about Jesus and read the Bible and stuff like that. And so there's no actual applicability of it in their daily lives. They don't talk about it anymore. And so their brain just goes, "Oh, this doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. This isn't applicable." And then when they go to the other place and you have this other thing in it, they're seeped in it everywhere. And the brain goes, "Oh, this actually does matter. That I have to pay attention to this." So think about Muslim culture. They have to pray several times a day. In the Muslim communities, they have the mosque that plays the prayer song and all that sort of stuff. If you live in a Muslim society, there is no question. It surrounds you. It's everywhere. If you go and you live in Saudi Arabia, you're going to learn a lot about the Muslim religion. Whereas a lot of people could come over here and live in the United States and not learn a single thing about being Christian. It's everywhere in their culture. And over here in our culture, it's not. And so what's happening is we're not passing on our values to our kids because it's like there's no applicability to it. It's like we're teaching them all of these little these values and stuff, but they don't actually become pertinent to them until they're like 25, and by that point the brain has already been like, it doesn't matter. So they don't do it at that point. Right? So what was the point of that? Well, it's this same thing when you come over here into the politics. Like the Overton window moves because you see it on the news. You see it in everything that people are talking about, and like a certain culture has been set. And the Democrats and the liberals have done a good job at integrating their values into the culture, and the conservatives have not. That's why the Overton window moves. It has nothing to do with the leaders or the, I mean, it's everything outside of the politics actually that's moving it, right? And the Republicans think that we need to be fighting against this. This is legislation, all of these other things, when actually it was a cultural problem. How do you integrate your values into the culture of people's everyday lives? Because if you don't, then the brain's natural inclination is to go, oh, this doesn't matter, and just discard it and take up the thing that they are engrossed in every day. This is also why when Facebook became popular, that you saw a huge shift, especially among millennials in politics. And millennials, especially millennial women, who are some of the most engaged on social media, become extremely liberal because the liberals dominated the online culture and made it liberal. What do you do to prep for the session? Do you have particular levels going in the session where you're looking to play around based on... Okay, so... yeah, they managed to make being high and killing their babies more of a priority than your values. It culturally, 100% it is. Culturally, 100% it is. Like seriously, think about... you've been in high school. You know what it was like, and if you're conservative, and here you probably are, you were probably like me, where you watch everybody else doing all this crazy stuff, and you're just like, well, that's stupid. Because I'm more driven by like, I'm not very susceptible to peer pressure. Let's put it that way. My kids are. I feel like that my kids are very susceptible to peer pressure. But when I was a kid, it was constantly, me zigging when everybody was zagging. I've always been contrarian, sort of a thing. When you're in high school, like, what is everything that's going on around you that like matters socially? Is it's like everybody's hooking up and all of these sorts of things? And meanwhile, your religion tells you you're not supposed to have sex before marriage, right? Yeah, no wonder most kids go, well, that's dumb. Everybody else is doing this. I'm going to go have fun and have an abortion. Yeah, they made being high and killing babies more of a priority than your values. Basically, they said this is a Mormon thing, okay, but it's the prevailing culture of the day is eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Whereas I say the point of life is to work and build society so that society will be better for the people that come behind us, so that your kids can enjoy an even better life than you have. And that used to be Western society, but most of it was done at church, and it was only at church. And so secularism took over the culture. And then that's not talked about. You're not actively doing things. Like ask yourself, what was the last major thing I did that would have like a significant impact in my community, making my community better, or making my community better for people that might come after me? We think that that's like only something that you do once you become a billionaire. There was a thread about this on Reddit the other day. They're like, hey, if you were a billionaire, what problem would you go out and you would solve? And I'm reading all of this and I'm like, well, why is it everybody thinks that like you're going to have this big pie in the sky dream thing that you're going to accomplish, but you're not going to think about it at all until the day that you're filthy rich and you can actually do something about it, right? If that's what you do, then the day that comes and you're filthy rich and you can do something about it, you're going to make all of the wrong choices. Well, no wonder all of the rich people make all of the wrong choices. So if you're not thinking about it, shouldn't building society be an everyday thing? But it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, because like, I can't just come in and like set the culture for everything, right? I can't just say, okay, we're going to do this, and this. We're going to have these rituals or these sorts of things every day, And in fact, any time that you look to even do something like that, there's pushback against it, right? Like we can't even, and in school, it's like you can't even do Pledge Allegiance to the flag now. It's crazy, right? Looking for a long pop here? Well, So somebody asked, what is your daily routine? Okay. So my routine starts when I end work the day before. Okay. End work the day before, I go in and work out. It's very important to keep yourself healthy. Do something that gets you up to your maximum heart rate. You need to be used to putting stress on your body. Eat really good. I do a bit of reading in the evening. I might do some studying and go to sleep early. Okay. When I wake up, the first thing that I usually do is read News Squawk's overnight synopsis. Basically, like what was the stuff that was going on overnight, right? And then, you know, I shower and eat and everything. And while I'm doing that, I'm going through in my head what the major flows are that I think will be dominating the action that day, essentially. Now today, so what are some of those flows? Well, we just had the jobless claims, right? Jobless claims was lower than expected. That would tend to raise rates. It looks like the market is ignoring that, right? They pushed down, and then ever since then it's been buy. Okay. We also have a really strong downtrend based on who knows what. I think that my best. Okay, so here's something that's going on with the flows that's really interesting and kind of difficult for us to sort out in the treasuries. So that will say, for instance, Nick Timmeros yesterday said that the rise in yields that we had today mostly reflects change in the term premium. So you can split out the interest rates into multiple components, and one of the components is inflation expectations, right? So obviously the treasuries don't only move when there's inflation expectations changes, right? And so how do you explain the rest of that? And so what they do is they take all of those other things like the current near-term supply and demand and so forth that might be changing interest rates, and they just lump it all together into, oh, well, that's the term premium demand that they're doing. So basically, because interest rates have moved higher, basically people are saying, oh, investors want more money for how long they're holding it for. Well, is that really why people are putting the orders in? I don't think it is. How do you explain that? Like here's the thing. Do you sit down and go like, oh, I'm going to sell treasuries today because I think that I should be getting paid more for my 30-year than my 10-year or whatever. Like, nobody does that. And I'm really skeptical about the number of firms out there, because this is a number that, like, how do you calculate what the term premium should be? Nobody has a formula for that. It's just like the leftover component. So who are these hedge funds and people that are trading off of that say, well, the term, because of X, Y, and Z, the term premium should be higher? I've never heard of it. So I'm not sure I believe that particular flow, that's the dominant flow. But there's another flow that's kind of been lurking on underneath of the surface and that we don't have a very good view on. We don't get to find out a whole lot about what's going on with it until like weeks later. And that is foreign holdings of treasuries, sovereign wealth funds coming in and buying and selling the treasuries. So I believe for the last few months or so that we've been having sovereigns dumping treasuries into this market. Okay. So that's one of the flows that we've got going on. But today they're buying. So what are the flows that we could have that could be buying flows? I'm not sure. The dollar is selling. The dollar gave back a lot here today. So it's got to be related to that. It could just be traders taking a mean reversion kind of a trade. But I honestly don't have a super good explanation for what the buying here is, even though I think I might have come in and bought if I was serious about taking a trade today. But, so those are the flows. So then when I come in and I show you the guys the charts and stuff, that's the first time I'm seeing the chart. That's the first time that I'm seeing it. And notice I'm just looking at it. What direction did it go? And what are the things that may have driven those overnight flows? That's all I care about. Previous day's low, VWAPs, all of these volume profile. There's absolutely zero empirical evidence to suggest that any of these things are of any use at all. The only level that I would make note of is that the current session high and low and the previous day high and low. That's it. For the most part. I mean, things like I remember I mentioned probably it kind of looks like ES might be heading down to 200-day moving average. I don't have any kind of scientific evidence that says that like in this situation it tends to go down there or it's more likely to bounce here or anything like that. It's just a benchmark. It's like it's only a way to say how much the market is selling relative to the recent past. That's all that is. This is a benchmark. Okay, so let's go back. Yes, Earth isn't inherited from those before us, but borrowed from those after us? Well, I have to think about that one, but I was not looking for a pop long here. This, I gotta say, of course I've been yapping the whole time. I'm sorry. But the amount of buying that we've seen, well, actually, no, I take that back. It's about 10,000 contracts, maybe 15,000 contracts. So this is the first thing, is that the market seems to be extremely illiquid. So I think what we saw here was like a really average pushback kind of mean reversion kind of trade. I mean, we've been down like all week. Today is like the first day, I think, this week that we've actually seen significant buying flows. And it just had a really strong impact because the liquidity is so flighty. I guess there was a 3,000 at 21, but like the overall net cumulative delta change on this move in the 10-year is not very much. So keep that in mind. What that means is that although I think it's probably likely that the trend continues to be up for the day, you're probably going to get very strong pullbacks. Like on this one, you can kind of see this spot where they went through 19 really easily. You know, they might slip back into that really easily. Yeah. Okay, this is why lots of people say money can't buy happiness, and when we ask them if we can have some of their money to do this or that, and we are honest to make it work and all are willing to give it back, so they say so. So they say no. Well, yeah, because if people just give you the money, you don't actually get any of the benefit from it, right? And I do agree that money doesn't buy true happiness. I mean, money can do a lot of things that can make you happy in the short run, but money won't give you meaning to your life. And people need to have meaning in their life to really be truly happy. That's kind of the way that we're built. That's the huge linchpin, or like the huge problem in Western society, is that we've become so individualistic that part of us is left completely unfulfilled, and so we just have hordes of people out there that are lonely. They spend all of their time online and they don't talk to the people that even live next door to them. I don't spend that much time with the people that live next door to me. I don't even know how I would go about increasing that, you know? It's like a societal wide problem that like one person can't just solve, unfortunately. Yeah, do you think the theoretical formula for premium / discount delta of time weighted consensus of expectations versus current price? Yeah, there's the whole thing is like inflation expectations, term premium, I think that there's actually 4 components to it, but those 2 are like the 2 main categories of it. When we're looking at it here on a day-by-day basis, doesn't really. I think that the order flow view of markets paints a very different picture, right? Because what's happening in those models is they just create these huge, like they'll come in this, hey, you know what? Like inflation expectations seem to be a big factor in treasuries. They are. There's some modeling you can go and look at that, like inflation expectations account for like, what was it they were reading yesterday? Account for like 95% of changes in treasury yields can be accounted for in inflation expectations. Yeah. But then there's this other little component and they just kind of say, well, that's the premium, for instance. But I say that it's basically that orders are what moves price. Okay, so like what's really happening, in my opinion, right now is government took on a lot of debt. Government is issuing a lot of issuance out there. People didn't actually add very much to their debt, and neither did corporates. And the debt that they did add was at very, very low interest rates, and so it's still quite easy for them to manage. This is why the economy is being somewhat resilient. And so if you're a country out there, you know, don't you think that the Chinese are maybe kind of like you took on all of this debt and like who's gonna buy it and you're gonna keep the interest rates here forever? Why would I want to hold your debt? Right? And I think that they're selling them. And I think that China and other countries are selling their treasuries, and that's why we're in this situation right now. That's my opinion. What if you can buy someone something that they will like and put a smile on their face and make you happy each day? Can I have 7K if it's nothing? I didn't say it was nothing to you. It was said that it doesn't make you happy. So it's just like the same. Like somebody could come in and give me $100,000 to trade, right? That'd be awesome, right? And I think it'd make me super happy because what I really want to do is manage $100,000. But it would rob me of the opportunity to make the $100,000 in the first place. And making the $100,000 is what would enable me to be able to manage that $100,000 successfully, right? But it comes back to this same theme that I'm trying to get at, which is that doing matters. You're not going to come in and just read a book and then understand what's going on in the market. You're just not. You have to come in and watch the order flow every day, read what the news is, see what the things that are affecting flows are, and read that day in, day out for years in order for your brain to make those connections. Being an effective politician is not something that you just read about. It's not about just having the right opinions and then you can be a successful politician. It's not. It's coming in and day out and working with other people and trying to convince them over to your side and reading about policy and understanding what the current arguments are and everything in order for you to be able to navigate that landscape effectively. That's why it tends to be the creatures of the swamp always end up being effective, and the people that want to make, the good changes and want to get the corruption out can't do shit because they haven't been doing anything. They haven't been involved. They haven't built all of those connections. So they're impotent. All I need is 7K and I can triple it. Go and get a funded trader account then. I need to take a break. I will be back. I'm sure you guys have lots of comments, so you put them in. We can talk about it when we come back. It's already 7 o'clock.
Keep on, keep on, keep on, keep on,
All right, we're back. I'm not going to address the GW's violence as always the question. Or comment. No, where you're from, you can't sign out. Oh, move, I guess. Sorry. I'm to easily triple your money though. You're probably being overconfident in your abilities because you got to be doing like crazy, risky things to be tripling your money. And I don't have 7K to give. I'm busy saving up for my own things. Yeah, I don't think so. You can't go and get. I'm sure that you can go and sign up for one, and then when you pass it, they'll be like, "Where do you live?" And you'll tell them, and then it's like, "Oh, I can't. You can't do that." But then you could actually prove that you could do it. Uh-oh. We're having some problems yesterday at work. Yeah, looks like they're on it already. I'm gonna pull this over here and just I want to see what they're saying though. And this process, yes, that was not working very well yesterday. I would never give my money to somebody else to manage, to be honest with you. Maybe I've given some money to Warren Buffett to manage them, but that's about as far as I think I might go with that one. Which is to say, why would I invest in somebody else's hedge fund? I don't think I would. I think that if I was at that point, that I would rather put it into private equity than a hedge fund. What about Jim Simmons? I mean, I would rather work for Jim Simmons than... No, I'm not going to take trades today. I'm not well. Plus, it kind of looks like the real opportunity is done for. They had to move up. They've created the liquidity hole. There's absolutely no way for me to know if they're gonna pop it up again, but I certainly could have said, hey, okay, they sold on this news and now they're starting to move up and I'm seeing cumulative delta start to rise. That means that there's a meta order that doesn't care about that. What, private equity? Or are you asking what is private equity? So I'm talking about like investing in startup companies, essentially. Yeah. But otherwise, I want to start my own fund. Nah, I'm not using prop firms. So, I was kind of hinting at this with Commando, but, the prop firms, they're saying, we'll give you $3,000 worth of risk and you need to make $3,000 with it. So you can't have a drawdown of, usually it's worse than that. It's usually like you can't have a drawdown of more than $2,000 from the closing high of your portfolio value. And you have to have, you have to close the day with more than 3,000 in profit in order to qualify. And that is quite leveraged. That is quite leveraged to be doing that. And so the best way to play that game, or the thing that's most likely to get you funded, is to take these mean reversion trades where you're making a little bit every time and you win the vast majority of the time, but then when you don't win, you lose twice as much, and you will go through these periods where like all of a sudden it just doesn't work at all. Like there's be one day it just is absolutely dismal and you blow the whole account in one day. And it's extremely common to see people blow the whole account in one day. So the reality is that it's over leveraged. And so what I encourage people to do is to trade your own account and to reduce your leverage. And instead of doing what I think most futures traders do, which is they say each individual trade will be 1% of my portfolio, you should say my max risk for the day is 1% of my portfolio. I don't want to lose more than 1% of my portfolio in a day, right? So if you're trading ES futures and you could potentially lose $1,000 in a day, which I think is very easy on ES futures, then you probably need $100,000 to be trading that. Is kind of the amount that I look at. I guess the next video I need to make is how much money do you need to trade, huh? Okay, so you could do that. You could say, you could do the degenerate thing to get funded and then just trade it small from there. You could do that. But at that point, why aren't you just funding your own account? Or no? Because the other issue is that if you can't put, and I don't think that you need a lot, but you know, like here to do treasuries, you can get started with $1,000, right? If you don't have the extra income to be able to put down $1,000 and then put down $1,000 again next year, if you're not successful, then you probably don't have the risk tolerance for futures trading. Which to me is just like, okay, so just trade like the absolute minimum or trade at sim until you are to that point. Wait, is there a prop firm out there that doesn't charge per month? I didn't know that I thought they were all like that it was a month by month thing because they have to pay for, you know, the data fees and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. I haven't tried funding an account in a long time. I've definitely had runs that would pass. I think that if I were to do it, I would be able to pass. I think it might take me multiple tries though. I've never done a technical strategy that was so reliable that, you know, I would think that I would pass it almost every time. Well, I'm saying that I think that I would have like a 30% chance of passing, depending on which way we're going to do it. I'm more interested in if I can get a robot to pass. You know, I haven't messed with that in a while. Well, because the thing is I have a bunch of robots that could pass, but it's like this strategy will work really great for a year and then it stops working, right? So you need to join the Discord. Yeah, you know what? I need to do better with the Discord because you know, this just comes back to the whole culture thing. It's like how do I do stuff so that like it's a daily ritual and that we have a stronger culture on Discord? I think we've done a really good job with it here on YouTube, or an okay job with it on YouTube, but we need to improve it, you know? It seems like I'm not that guy. Seems like the cultural leader, I'm not the cultural leader that I need to be, is kind of the conclusion that I'm coming to. I know I definitely know the things that we need, like culturally, from the retail trading perspective. I think that there needs to be a greater focus on reading the news, understanding what's going on, understanding the products that we're trading, and less of a focus on chart patterns. And a greater understanding of fat-tailed distributions. That's the second one that's killing people. But how do I build that into the way that I do it here on the stream is that we try and talk about what's actually going on in the market, and we try and talk about the flows that we have, right? And I don't run it like a trade room, right? Because there's other people, even respectable influencers that I like to look at, and they have chat rooms. But their chat room is basically, here's my setup for today. And, you know, and I go and I read them, and I think they're total nonsense, and I've been following them, and they don't work. Retail traders need to remember they don't have the Holy Grail, and just because someone is successful with one system doesn't make it the only. Well, no. That's the point that I'm trying to say is there is no Holy Grail. The very nature of the market makes the Holy Grail impossible. If Jim Simmons had come out and said, guys, I have the Holy Grail and here's how it works, he wouldn't be making money anymore. In fact, Medallion Fund does not make as much money as it used to. So other people have come in and reduced their edge to some degree. If you passed a funded challenge, that would attract attention. Maybe. You know what, though, Tom Gunn? There's plenty of... I've been doing this from the very beginning. I was probably one of, if not the first, to actually like live stream trading. And in my time, I've seen a number of people that were clearly there from the very beginning to be influencers. I kind of like, it was just a contest, and then I had enough people that I was like, okay, I guess we'll just run with it. And becoming an influencer wasn't necessarily a conscious decision. It was just something. This is like the way with everything in my life. Everything that I've been successful with, it wasn't actually... It wasn't 100% intentional, you know. It was just me going in and doing what I wanted to do and what I knew I should do, and then good things came from it. So, you know, that was the stream. I entered it in for a contest, and enough people watched that I just kept doing it, and it got popular enough now that there's no way I'd give it up. But I wasn't intending to be an influencer. But there's some of these people that they have been, and they try very hard, and they post on Facebook and they post on Reddit, and they get funded. They get funded and unfunded and funded again, but they're not really very popular. So because of that, I'm not convinced that getting funded would actually make the stream more popular. And on top of that, the people that I think would be attracted to the stream because I had been funded are not necessarily the people that I want in the community, right? Because to me, the value of the stream is that we have this community that we can draw resources from, right? I put all of this stuff into the community. I've made all of these videos for you guys to watch so that you can really truly understand the market at its fundamental level and not be misled by all of this other nonsense and BS that's out there that teach you that you can actually take an empirical approach to it, and that there is empirical information out there that you can read and study, right? And then you can go out and read that stuff and share it with the rest of the community. And as long as we remain a small community, then we can collaborate in that manner and be successful with it, right? If we were creating edges like that and we were super popular, it would probably hurt the edge. Because even at the level that we're at, there are situations, and I feel like I've started to get okay at being able to avoid those situations, but they still happen from time to time. There are some situations where the market will fight us, and I truly believe that we are a factor in it sometimes, especially as of late with the liquidity being so shit. Oh, if you pass, you have to pay the professional. Well, I wouldn't have too big of a problem with paying the professional fee, though. I don't know. But that's why I'm saying that, like, I think the longer term goal for me, or maybe it's for us, is to create a CTA fund. To create a long, short treasuries CTA fund of some sort. A fund that other CTAs would invest in if treasuries were up or down. There are a lot of dumb ways to pass, I'm sure that there are. Okay, the very first thing about a Holy Grail is to define a Holy Grail. Okay, so when we say a Holy Grail, what we mean is a technical strategy that you can sit and just watch the market for, and it will give you a clear entry and exit signal that works in all markets and is consistently profitable. That is essentially the Holy Grail. And I think that to some degree, to many people, the Holy Grail also means a strategy that would be able to pay the bills every month. Okay. That would be like the Holy Grail. It doesn't exist. Because the whole nature of the market is that it's competitive. If you start trading something, it changes the strategy. Changes the performance of the strategy. So the whole point is that the Holy Grail doesn't exist. So, what is consistent profitability? Now, I think that for most retail traders, what they're looking for is to pay the bills for the month, right? But I think that the better allegory to use for what your trading should be is trading nirvana. There is only you are in line with the market or you're not in line with the market. And all of our work should be to get ourselves in line with the market, which is to say that we understand the flows that are coming through the market and we're able to predict them and take advantage of them. And if we don't understand what the flows are in the market, then we're not going to make money. That's kind of been me lately. I don't understand completely why they've been selling. I have a lot of good ideas now, but while it was happening, I didn't know before they happened, right? So I was not in trading nirvana. What was the method? Haven't you been around when I've talked about this before? So the way that the traders at Goldman traded was they weren't making the decision to buy or sell, right? A hedge fund or an index fund or whatever the deal was had made the decision, this is a company that we want to buy. And who knows what the reasons were that they were going to buy it for, okay? They didn't have to worry about that. Somebody has already done the edge for them. And all they are doing is executing it as efficiently as possible. And the biggest, like, the entryway into understanding how they executed is the Almgren Chris study. Almgren Chris was the primary basis that it was. Of course, they've gotten far more advanced than Almgren Chris in the last 20 years. But that was the basis of what they did. Nah, I've never read Tom Dante. I'll go to these other traders that people mention, and then they'll mention technical analysis patterns, and I'm immediately like, okay, this person doesn't know. I'll link you the study. Oh, there's a GitHub now. Here you go. This is a study. Specifically, it's the here, pull it over here. Optimal Execution of Portfolio Transactions by Robert Almgren and Neil Chris, December 2000. We consider the execution of portfolio transactions with the aim of minimizing a combination of volatility risk and transaction costs arising from permanent and temporary market impact. For a simple linear cost model, we explicitly construct the efficient frontier in the space of time-dependent liquidation strategies, which have minimum expected cost for a given level of uncertainty. We may then select optimal strategies by either minimizing a quadratic utility function or by minimizing value at risk. The latter choice leads to the concept of liquidity-adjusted VAR or LVAR that explicitly considers the best trade-off between volatility risk and liquidation costs. And the gist of it, if we scroll down here, is that the best one that we get? Yeah, you get something like this. Is they're basically saying, okay, in this instance, I execute most of it at this time, and then I can wait and I can execute this much. Yeah, I'm sure that, like the thing is that there's lots of people that I'm sure aren't scammers, but I really don't think that they're going to help you. Skipping math classes coming back to haunt me. I know, right? It was one of those things why I made that video that's like, basically, is futures trading actually for you? And if you don't enjoy math, it's probably not actually for you. If you understand the news and you can trade off, then it's okay. But if you dislike the news and you dislike math, then trading is definitely not for you. Because this whole idea that you're just going to stare at a chart and find patterns in the chart and become rich from doing that, it's not realistic. Well, we're getting a little bit of buying coming in here again. And it's about the right time for it too. Oh. Well, what did he say in a podcast? Gosh, I love the news / trading the news. It's always been the thing that made me interested in trading. I think that it was a natural evolution for me because I've always been a person that just obsessively reads news. It used to be that I would obsessively read political news. There's not as much interesting political news anymore, so now I obsessively read financial news. And particularly macroeconomic news. So I'm not as good at keeping track of what's going on with the individual stocks. I mean, that's one of the things that one of the reasons why I feel so strongly about this particular thing is because there are so many times where you'll go on the Reddit boards and somebody will be like, what was up with today? Why did this happen? Or why did this happen? What, my indicators and stuff didn't predict something like that at all. And then, well, you look at where they're talking about it, and I was like, oh, well, that was when the treasury auction was. Yes, the S&P 500 sold yesterday because the treasury auction. Well, not the treasury auction, but because the yields were rising, but there was a shift at the treasury auction. There was a thread about this yesterday. They're not looking at those things at all. Like the number of retail traders that are coming in and trying to trade, they don't know when the major economic releases are and all of that sort of thing. It's like bonkers. Because I guarantee you, at Goldman, they knew what was coming. They had all of the reports. They knew what their analyst estimate for the reports were and the scenarios and everything from it. They knew what kind of order flow to anticipate based off of that and how to adjust their trading accordingly. And that was for somebody that all they were trying to do was minimize their impact. So what is this this GitHub that I found? It is literally Almgren Chris programmed in Python. That's so cool. And it's not too bad. Oh, and they even have the IPYNB. I forget what those are called. You can load them into these little workbooks and run them on Google. Cool. Yeah, I've lost track of how many retail traders I've had conversations with that say I don't need to pay attention to the news. Exactly. It's hilarious. And like the thing is once you understand the market microstructure, I feel that it really puts into focus how ridiculous of a thing it is. That's part of why I spend so much time talking about the market microstructure on the channel, because it basically, market microstructure says all of the things that retail traders focus on aren't going to work because of the very nature of the market. They're all wasting their time. Okay, pretty much he was in a forum where he kind of was helping other traders. Later on, he met a member from that forum who had a thick book where he had notes on most of the traders on the forum, and he explained to him that he was literally fading all of the traders, and he made a living because he believed in the 90% of traders failed. So he used the beginning trader as a contrarian indicator. I definitely, so I don't know if it would make sense to like fade individual people per se, but absolutely when I see a strategy starts to become popular out there, I start paying attention to it and trade against it. And some of my best trades have come from that. I don't think that it's like a very good basis for a trade, but when I already have a good basis for a trade, and I can be going against what the retail traders are going to do, it's a sweetener, and it tends to increase the profits from it. Big time. Big time. But I think that the majority of what retail traders do is just noise. It's just noise, and they don't understand the statistics of it to understand what why what they're doing doesn't actually have the significance that they think it does. You know? But, you know, another point I would make about all of this stuff is this is also why I hate the term profitable trader. Because retail traders come in and they've had like a month of profitability and they say, I'm a profitable trader. Or like, I've been a profitable trader for 6 months. That doesn't mean shit, guys. You're 6 months in an industry where performance is measured 5 to 10, 30 years. You made money for 6 months. Come on. Your performance changes over time. So there is never truly a spot where you can say you are profitable. All you can say is if you are in the state of nirvana at that time. That's all you can say. And if you're in nirvana now, doesn't mean that you won't be in nirvana tomorrow. And the things that could be giving me edge today might not give me edge tomorrow, and I'm going to have to find other things to keep a leg up on the competition. And frankly, the things that I think will give me a leg up on the competition, I don't like to share. The things that I'm sharing with you are kind of like base things that I feel like everybody that's going to be involved in the markets should know. But those just put you on par. Those just make it so that you even stand a chance. They're not going to give you an edge. Do you see the silver going up? Well, so I don't know about... So there's this whole thing about, do central banks or the banks in general manipulate gold and silver? And there's this whole conspiracy theory about it. I've never really looked into it too hard, nor have I ever seen anybody try and present actual real evidence to suggest that this is actually happening. I kind of feel like it's more of a like, well, gold and silver should be acting like this, and it's not, so I'm going to blame it on the banks. But silver has been doing very, very well the past week. Ever since, what was it? The non-farms a week ago, was it? And then we got CPI, and gold has not been behaving the way that it has. Normally, gold does very poorly when inflation expectations change, and now, or with real rates rather. They're like the price of gold is correlated to real rates, and now you're seeing real rates go up, and it's not affecting gold. Gold and silver have been up a ton. Now, doesn't necessarily undo all of the damage that has been done to gold and silver over the last 3 years. But, another week and we could see gold at 2,000 and then maybe it's game on, I think one of the things that really, oh my gosh, was after the GameStop thing. People said, oh, like the next thing is silver. And so for the next day, like silver was up crazy. And I had a position that was like up big time and I had to scratch it, but it was up big time for that one day. And then all of these other people came in out of nowhere. They're like, no, it can't be that. Because I think that they were afraid that people would move their money over to there and that it would hurt their GameStop thing, because they understood that basically it was like a greater fool kind of game. It's like people have to buy after you. But they said it was because, no, the banks manipulate the price down so you don't want to get involved in silver. And it just drove me nuts, because when you look at, and I'm not even talking about like the specific dynamics going on in silver at that time, just like the overall silver market, the supply of silver and gold is not very elastic at all. And so if there was a spike in demand for those metals, they would skyrocket. If there had been a run on silver in the way that there was a run on GameStop, it would have made GameStop look like a tiny little blip. So we're to this point now where gold and silver are doing well. There's a possibility, man. I mean, maybe these guys are right and it's manipulated and eventually it's going to get nipped in the butt. But at the rate that they're going, if silver and gold turn bullish, they're going to turn bullish. Like, I think you could realistically see silver in particular. We pull silver up here. No joke. I can see some scenarios where silver would be worth $100. 50 is the all-time high in silver. And I think that this scenario would be like a pretty wild economic scenario. So I'm not going to say that this is like a prediction I think is going to happen, but I definitely see scenarios where silver could be $50 to $100. It's been a crazy trade. And in all, fair disclosure, I own a silver miner of some sort. I forget what the symbol is. It's like AG. I know, I don't look at it very often. I try not to look at that particular one because I just hate it. I hate how it's performed for me since I got in it. I mean, like, the other things have compensated for it, but it's always been like, I need to get more into the stocks. I want to pick up another stock, but I just don't really know where I want to go with it. I feel like that I'm having a hard time doing that because I just really don't like the dynamics that I'm seeing in the market right now. I'm a little bit miffed about this. Like, yields are rising like crazy, and the S&P 500 is kind of just okay. XLE, that sounds familiar. Oh, the energy ETF. No, but I want to be in an individual company. I want to get better at picking individual stocks. So, and a lot of the ones that I was watching, it's like no longer the conducive economic environment for them. Well, I don't think I have to go, but I think I'm going to take a break here again, okay? You list all of your favorite stocks, maybe we'll look at them. I think that was may have been the last bit of water in me. I don't know. It looks okay. So you know what it was? XLF is an ETF that I've always watched, right? Which is funny because I've always been in the banks because it's like, when the term premium increases, they should be making more money, right? Once you get the change in the spread, when the yield curve steepens back out, the bank should be able to make money if the yield curve steepens and we have higher interest rates. But sorry, what is it? The financial sector ETF hasn't been so great lately. Wait, let's change it to a daily chart. It's been okay, but could be better. And they got decimated yesterday. That was like, anyways, if anyone wants to listen to that podcast, the video is from Stories from 15 Years as a Trader Part 1. Pretty crazy. Oh, that was interesting. Hey, Brando. Okay, so we're getting the home sales. Let's see here. Existing home sales change -2% versus a -3.71. I would think that would lead to a little bit of selling, but they don't seem to be reacting to it. What's going on in interest rate world today? Well, rates are really high. Rates have moved really high. We got a little bit of a reprieve today, but so I think I want to pay attention to what the S&P 500 ends up doing today, because I would expect them to maybe try retracing some of that downside from yesterday, but not too much. If today ends up being like another one of those gangbuster long days like it was 2 days ago, then I'm gonna start to be like, Xi Jinping calls for ceasefire in Israel-Gaza war, says two-state solution is fundamental way out. Okay. If you can get the Palestinians to sign that, then make it happen. I forgot our report was due. Yeah, it didn't really affect the market too much, though, did it? Well, we got natural gas. There's a 4-week and 5-year tips auction today, and we've got a bunch of Fed speakers much, much later in the day, so will never happen. Don't get me started on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, man. Looking, just browsing around the web, see if anything. It kind of feels like that there should be like a couple of things going on here. Well, one of them being the war in Gaza, but I'm not seeing a whole lot. Trump slams Biden for handing 100 million to Palestinians. Yeah. The NASDAQ risks big downside if Middle East conflict spirals. Yeah. So far, though, I'm not sure the market is convinced that it's going to really get changed. Oh, is Powell speaking today? I didn't look on there. Oh, you're right. At 10 o'clock. So at noon Eastern time, Powell will be speaking. And where is that going to be at? Due to speak at the Economic Club of New York luncheon. Yeah, that's going to be a big market moving event. That's a big enough thing that the treasuries might just kind of like range here for the rest of the session until they're ready for that. So if you want to do like a market scanner sort of a thing, NinjaTrader isn't necessarily the best one to do it with. So you can definitely, there's the market analyzer, and you can add columns for every technical indicator you can think of, and put whatever instrument that you're getting for it, right? But like you have to process all of that, and you have to be getting stock data anyways, which you would have to be getting through TD Ameritrade or something like that, I think. So I don't think it makes a very good scanner. There's much better scanners that are frankly even free out there. So, especially if you're just doing daily level sort of stuff. What do you mean name some? No, you use the market analyzer. See the thing in the bottom right? So I just add all of my instruments in there, and I have what their net change is, current price, and their volume. And that's how I keep tabs on what the market overall is doing as a whole. So then I can come in and can say, oh, okay, the biggest winner today is wheat. Don't know what's up with that, but that is something worth keeping an eye on. By the way, why don't I have wheat up here? ZW. Cool. When did that start? Oh, about the same time. So it seems to be correlated with this move in the treasuries. That's interesting. Biggest loser, oil, followed by UB. But most of these are pretty tepid losses, so. Let's see here. What's this? Japanese government bond yields rose to fresh decade highs on Thursday, tracking U.S. Treasury yields as investors braced for the Bank of Japan's exit from its negative interest rate policy. There were some signs of Chinese entities winding down another $16 billion of their Treasury holdings through August to the lowest level since 2008, likely banking much of them for now in dollar cash instruments. A similar concern smolders about Japan's treasury holdings as the yen weakens close to 150 per dollar and the prospect of the Bank of Japan dollar selling intervention heightens. good thing to keep track of. What's this Bitfinex is saying? Gemini adds tether fraud the same day they finally admit they have been defrauded by Genesis/Digital Currency Group and now have a multi-billion-dollar hole. Sure, it's just a coincidence when you run out of money because of your own stupidity, there's always tether fraud. I haven't been following that drama. What has been the drama going on with? I have seen Gemini in headlines and stuff, but I didn't really completely understand what was going on. Gemini is likely going under. That was 11 months ago. Attorney General James sues cryptocurrency companies Gemini, Genesis, and DCG for defrauding investors. Outrage. This is the one that I saw yesterday. Customers outraged over Winklevoss secret $282 million cryptocurrency withdrawal. You didn't tell anyone. They withdrew 282 in Gemini assets before the Genesis, so that's why that's why Genesis collapsed, huh? I use it with over 100 rows and 11 columns. You said they were better analyzed. Well, so like, just as an example, a stock scanner that I think is kind of cool is if you go to simplywall.st, Simply Wall Street. Go to platform. Sign in with Google here. Come on. And then they have a screener. Right. So I can do all of these things by sorting it by like the market cap, and there's tons of stuff. Advanced filters. Valuation. I guess this is more by technical indicators, right? More by fundamental indicators, but. And then if you come over to TradingView, they have a screener you can use for free. Simply Wall Street one you have to pay for. Products, screeners. Stock 2.0 is beta. Right? And then I can come in here and add technicals and add just about anything. Volume change percentage. Price change percent. 0 and above. So only show me ones that are up today. Who are my biggest winners? Binovi Technologies Corporation. Yeah, no thanks. Okay, so then we can come in and we can say, we need another one. We just need volume overall. Let's see here. Where is it? Oh, did I not have? Let's see here. Maybe it's over here. Price, market cap, P. Well, let's set a market cap to have to be at least 300 million. That'll probably take out a lot of these. There we go. Okay. Foxconn is up 47% today. Wow. Wait, but there's only 600 volume in that. That's not. But how do I is it not on here? Debut sector analyst rating performance, revenue growth, pad, return on equity, beta. How do I get column settings? 1 day volume. There we go. Just volume. Volume 1 day above. Well, it has to be at least above 10,000, right? There we go. So now I got a list of stocks that are doing crazy things today. Ta-da! Oh, do I have it set to be like custom here? I think that I want that to be 2 billion. Like I don't want an upper market cap. How do you do it? 100, 1 trillion. Nope, it needs to be more than that. 1 billion. 100 billion. There. Oh, look, it added at least one on here. Maybe we... Oh, no, I think that's okay. Well, some of these are still micros. It must, well, yeah, I'm telling it to say volume change. 1 day is 5%, so it's up 5% volume compared to the previous day. My problem is it's giving me too many micro caps. I guess I need to do large caps only. Right. I look at how much the top 100 stocks have changed in the last 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 6 seconds. Good. Yeah, but if you're gonna scalp stocks, I suppose you would do that, right? Those would be the sorts of things that you would do, at least. So I feel like I don't need that anymore. Well, it's because of the way that I'm sorting it. It's probably... Netflix up 16%. They had good earnings yesterday. So that's probably the one that I'd be trading, right? No, I don't know if that's what I would trade, but that's probably going to be the one of the ones with the most interest. Do you enjoy the Bazinga Scratch one? I haven't used that one too much because I think you have to pay with it, but yeah. Yeah, you can come into these and you can, like, you know, you can add technicals and stuff. Indicators, right? Try RSI or Bollinger Bands or something like that to look for stocks that are clearly doing something weird. Wow, how is Bank of America? Nah, that can't be right. That must be a different, yeah. That must be some sort of a warrant or something. So there's only 3 volume on it. Anyways. So far, the treasuries have pretty much stayed in this range as anticipated. I think that it might be a slow day until Powell speaks, but I'd be ready that Powell might really move them. This is a situation where they could really do it. Oh yeah, so I was looking at this. New York Attorney General Letitia James today filed a sweeping lawsuit against Gemini, Genesis, and its affiliates for defrauding more than 230 investors, including at least 29,000 New Yorkers of more than $1 billion. An investigation by the Office of the Attorney General found that Gemini lied to investors about an investment program it ran with Genesis called Gemini Earn. Gemini repeatedly assured investors that investing with Genesis through their Gemini Earn program was a low-risk investment. Oh, were they really? However, OAG's investigation found that Gemini's internal analysis of Genesis showed that the company's financials were risky. The lawsuit alleges that Gemini knew Genesis loans were unsecured and at one point highly concentrated with one entity, Sam Bankman-Fried's Alameda, but did not reveal this information to investors. Ooh, so the FTX fallout is coming for Gemini, eh? And what's this other one? Customers are outraged that the Winklevoss twins over their secret $282 million withdrawal from their crypto company's bank before its collapse last year, and the backlash could further tarnish the twins' carefully crafted image as trustworthy operators in the unruly digital currency industry. As the Post first reported last month, Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, who started the New York-based Gemini crypto exchange following their famous feud with Mark Zuckerberg, who founded Facebook, quietly yanked a trove of cryptocurrency from now bankrupt Genesis on August 9th of 2022. A few months later, on November 16th, Genesis froze withdrawals on some $900 million in customer assets tied to the Gemini Earn program, an interest-bearing account product that teased 8% interest on crypto deposits. Gemini never responded to the Post request for comment, and only to post a lengthy statement. Blah, blah, blah. Is there a way to summarize Rose and Call? What do you mean by that? What would you want, like, summarize the average of everything? Maybe? I don't know. I don't think that there is. You can add a blank row. I don't know what that does. I don't know what that's for. That's interesting. Count up. Well, you can change the sorting. I have mine sorted by net change. There's no way that Gemini can spin this. So you had the smarts to withdraw 282 million, but you didn't halt the earn program? Yeah, they're screwed. Good. I never liked them. It's a pretty quiet morning on the social media front. Existing home sales tumbled to weakest in 13 years. First time buyers at historical lows. Dear Reddit, what can you say that will wildly upset a large community? Literally anything on Reddit ever, right? Don't know what that means. You know what? This oh geez, there you go. I'm not gonna say that one because that would does actually make people upset. Oh, what's this? Elon Musk says people working from home are detached from reality? Maybe. I think the problem that I see is that working from home, we need to replace the workplace culture with culture in your local community. People need to be doing things with their local community. We don't usually. My mental health medications would confirm that I'm detached from reality, says Tiger. Let's read the comments on this one. Well, we have to read this story first. I want to be one of those people that just read the headline and don't actually read the story. Let's see what he said. Tesla's stock looks a little heavy. I need to leave at the top of the hour. I'll probably shut things down here and I don't know, whenever I feel like it in the next 15 minutes. Twitter owner Elon Musk claims people working from home are detached from reality. Here's what he thinks about the work from home culture. Apparently, the 52-year-old tech mogul believes those who work from home take advantage of those who aren't able to work from home. That is absolutely true. That is totally true. Aside from this, the Tesla CEO believes people who work from home are detached from reality. During the company's Q3 earnings earlier this week, Musk said, "Why did I sleep in the factory so many times? Responding to the question about working from home, Musk told analysts that working from the office mattered. What about all the people that have to come to the factory to build the cars? What about all the people that have to go to the restaurant and make your food and to deliver your food? To cap, Musk has previously called remote work morally wrong. Earlier this week, he told CNBC that Silicon Valley laptop classes need to get off their moral high horse with their work from home bullshit. So I don't agree with everything that he's saying here, but I do kind of feel like that if you're working from home and then you get detached from what it's like for people that do have to go in for work, you know, that's a privilege that can really detach you from what's really going on. So let's read the comments. This is such a weird take, especially as he mentions people who have to go to offices, restaurants, factories, etc. And by mentioning they have to, but others don't and choose not to, he's acknowledging that making them work is just punitive at that point. It's baffling. If you don't have to, why should you? And if you don't have to, but you are forced to, how is that reality when it doesn't make any sense? It has created an environment that benefits no one. You don't have to be there. I fully support all models. Oh. Only those who take ketamine. Oh, okay. Detached Billionaire says people working from home and spending more time with their families instead of in traffic are detached. Yes, Mr. Genius, please tell me how to best live my life. There you go. I work from home. I've done it full time since 2019. This year I got a part-time job out of the home simply to get out of the home more. Wait, so what is your part-time job away from the home? Because I want to get out of the house more too. Or I feel that I should get out of the house more. Basically, I stay in this room all day, all the weekdays, and then I go and I do woodworking on Saturday. And I feel like that in the evenings I should be, like talking to people or something. You got a job selling golf equipment. Oh, there you go. Except for that I'm not a golfer. I'm in a beautiful home office with a view on 3 sides, but I am alone for days at a time. That's what I need. I have a view, but like it's just through that one window and it's behind the computer, and I always leave the curtains closed. But when, I retire to the mountains, I would like to buy a cabin in the mountains and live there or somewhere out of. I got to find a place that's like rural but has fiber optic internet. That's what place in Utah that is rural but has fiber optic internet. That's what I want to do. And when I find that, I need to have a corner office. Is what I need to do. I mean, I have a corner office here, but there's not a window on that side. There should be a corner office with like all windows. Yes. My wife works 3 days out of the home. One of the things that's difficult for me, for us right now, is that because we have 2 toddlers, we can't. And we're afraid that they're going to kill each other. That we can't really do a whole lot. Kind of limits what we can do. Otherwise, I would maybe be organizing more activities. You have a 3-year-old? It's not just that I have a 3-year-old, it's that I'm concerned that the 3-year-old is going to kill the 1.5-year-old. That's... Oh, there's an interesting comment there in Discord, Brando. Professional traders don't share strategies. I had to sign an electronic NDA to see my friend that works at Charles Schwab's market making algo. Wow. Surely you can spill the beans here. No one knows who you are. I'm sure it helps to have a multi-billion-dollar book of collateral and plenty of dumb retail flow. Oh, back to this Elon thread. So it's not the billionaires that are detached from reality. It's the workers. Got it. Okay. This is the Elon Musk subreddit, but they're not very kind comments about it. Should have stayed in bed, says Octavius. Why is that? Did you not catch the long? You were listening to me rant about society and missed the trade, huh? I'm sorry. Oh, you're sick? I could have stayed in bed, I suppose. I'm not actually sick. I'm just really, really hungry. I'm doing pretty okay with it so far, though, I think. But I am thinking that it's about time for us to get going. Well, yeah, I think it was weird to just shut things down. What should we put in today's markets await Fed's Powell speech? So what we'll put. I will be back tomorrow. So should be be an interesting day tomorrow, options expiration. So I'll see you guys then. In the meantime, stay excellent.